One of the questions that I get asked quite a lot from people who are thinking about buying my templates or are thinking about building their own website is, can I really DIY my own website? So I decided to answer this question once and for all. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ana Lea. I am the owner of Light Design Studio, where I create custom Squarespace templates, courses, and resources to help you look great online. And here on this channel, I share business design, branding, and marketing tips to help you work smarter and not harder. So if that is something that you're interested in, definitely hit that subscribe. And now let's dive into today's topic. So let me get straight to the point. Can you design a professional website even if you're not a designer? The simple answer, yes, you can. With platforms like Showit, Squarespace, Wix, and even WordPress in some cases, you can build a website without having to learn how to code or without having to hire a designer. There are a lot of benefits to DIYing your website, which I covered in one of my older blog posts on my blog, which I will leave a link to in the description below. But the main benefit is that you'll save a lot of money, and in the process you'll be able to get to know your website platform so much so that when you need to make a small tweak or a change here or there, you will not need anybody's help, and it'll be easy for you to just go in and do it. It is a very empowering and priceless feeling at the same time. So that is definitely one of the biggest benefits of building your website yourself. However, there is another side to this story, or another side to this coin, which, can I DIY my own website if I'm not a designer or a developer? Yes, you can, but there is the wrong way to do it and the right way to do it. So what do I mean by this? The wrong way to DIY your website is you have to think about it like building your own home. If you're really interested in building your own home, then obviously you will need a plot of land. But that alone is not enough. You can't just buy a plot of land and then start building. I mean, you can, but the end result will probably not look all that great, nor will it be functional. In other words, you won't get very far. So you might have a great vision in your head for how your home, aka your website, should look. But if you have no structure, no way of knowing how to actually bring that vision to life, then that vision won't do you much good. So, in other words, you need to have some foundations in place, and yes, pun is fully intended, as lame as it may be, but you need to have some foundations in place before you actually start building your dream house or website. So you actually do need foundations for the house, but you also need a blueprint to start with. You need to know how tall the house is going to be, what floors are going to be on your house, what rooms are going to be, which rooms are going to be where, how the water is connected based on the water main line, and that will dictate how your rooms are going to be positioned inside the house and whatnot. Similarly, you need to know what goes into building a website before you actually start building one. So the first time around when you start to actually DIY your website, it helps a lot if you have a blueprint to follow. So when you jump straight into building a website without a blueprint, you'll end up with three things. You'll end up with a website that looks nothing like what you envisioned. You'll waste a lot of time and you'll get frustrated in the process. And you'll resent the whole process and groan inwardly every single time you have to go and make a change on your website. That brings me to my next point. The right way to DIY your website is with an actual blueprint or a strategy or instructions that you can follow when you go to build your website. If we go back to the house analogy, you have a vision for what your house should look like. You want to build it yourself. That's great. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go talk to an architect and you're going to get a blueprint and a floor plan for the house. Now, you could try to create that blueprint and floor plan yourself, but without having the technical knowledge of what actually goes into an education of an architect and what actually goes into creating that blueprint and the floor plan, you'll get stuck and you'll spend a lot of time and you'll get frustrated. So finding an architect, telling him, hey, this is what I want, can you help me? is the best way to get the blueprint and the floor plan to actually build your house. When it comes to websites, you might be thinking that this means, okay, great, so now I have to go find a designer to build a website for me. No, you don't need a designer if you're strapped for budget or if you're just getting started. And I cover the reasons for that in my video on how to build a website on any budget that I will leave a link to at the top of the screen somewhere. But you want a blueprint that shows you how to build a website from start to finish. So there are two ways that you can go about this. First, you can use a pre-made template. That pre-made template that you buy, no matter what your platform is the blueprint for your house. You will get that blueprint, and then all you really have to do is go in and customize with your own colors, fonts, photos, your own custom flourishes, and basically your own design aesthetic. Now, there's a lot of strategy that goes into making a template. I know it doesn't sound like it because it's a template, so how can it possibly account for strategy? But it's not enough to make your website look pretty. And I can guarantee you that there are certain things that every template needs to include that are common to most service-based or consulting-based businesses. And that strategy is what you need if you want your template to serve you in the long run. If you want your website to take an actual visitor and turn them into a paying client or a paying customer. So this includes knowing where to place calls to action, how to organize your website's content, how to organize the layout, how to format the pages, and so on and so forth. And that is the essence of the blueprint or the floor plan. So the templates will take care of that for you because a lot of the strategic work is done beforehand, so all you really have to do is customize it. Now, the other option that you have is to do it with a course. The course works similarly to the templates, but it will not only give you a blueprint for how to build a website or a starting point that you'll use to customize, but it'll teach you the house building or the website building process, including the strategy from the ground up. So in the future, if you now want to build a house for your kid or your sister or your brother or whatever, you can now go and repeat the process because now you know what goes into it. Not saying that you need to, but you'll have the knowledge and the backing to make sure that it happens. You'll get to know your website platform in and out. You'll know how to make the smallest changes, and you'll be able to make tweaks whenever necessary. And that alone is priceless. So with that said, how do you actually make your template, or whether you're starting from a template or you're using a course, how do you actually make sure that the end result looks professional and unique? Here are some tips. The first tip that I have for you is you'll want to choose your images very carefully. Look at the original template that you've gotten and then try to notice patterns between images. Do they use all bright and airy images? Are they all dark and moody? Do they use a lot of white space? Is there a lot of people in there? Do they use textures? How are the images laid out? Are they all square? Are they all round? Are they all tall? And then you'll want to make sure that the images that you're going to replace them with are pretty much follow the same pattern and are laid out in a similar fashion. Then the next tip that I would have for you is don't go overboard with the fonts. If you look at most pre-made template solutions, or even if the course teaches you how to build a website on your own, you will notice that in most cases they only use a couple of fonts, and that is done intentionally and with reason because the more fonts you use, the more unprofessional your design looks. And your text starts to look busy and inconsistent and hard to read, and you don't want that. So that is why you want to stick to just 2 fonts and then customize which those fonts are. Another tip that I have for you to actually make sure you end up with a professional looking website is to simplify your color palette. I know that you might have a color palette that includes 11 different colors, but don't use all of them on your website. Choose one primary color that you'll be known for, that will be associated with your brand. Choose a secondary color that complements it, that you can use as the action or the accent color, and then pair those 2 colors with neutrals. Off-white, charcoal black, navy blue, something like that, whatever makes sense with those 2 colors. And then you'll want to shorten and format your copy properly. So you don't need to write 2,000 word essay on every single page. And worst of all, you don't want to cram it all in one single one large wall of text. You want to break up your copy with headings, bullet points, bold text, italics, where it makes sense, of course, to make your copy easier to read and make your website look more professional. And finally, my last tip is do not adjust the default spacing that is in there. I know you might be tempted to do that, but when you do that, you run the risk of making your entire website look cluttered. That white space is there for a reason. It makes your design more breathable and it gives the template that polished and professional look and feel. So leave the spacing alone. That is one of the things that I would recommend you do not go in and customize, whether you're using your template or whether you're starting with a course. So, in conclusion, is it possible to DIY your own website even if you're not a designer? Absolutely. Yes, it is. And if you're wondering how, I have a course coming up that will teach you all about designing a client-winning, gorgeous website with Squarespace. Go to my website, laydesignstudio.com/DTD. So definitely check that out, and I'll see you in the next one.